A woman climbs the stairs of a building. A man then sees the woman and greets her. She tells the man to have more respect for her. He then apologizes for the way he had spoken to her and asks how he could help her. She said she wanted to talk to the person in charge of that construction. The man then says he wanted to call the person in charge and shouts for him. The handler then appears and the man says that woman wanted to talk to him. The handler then greets the woman and asks how he could help her. She said that she had seen the construction and that her home needed a makeover. She then asks who she could talk to about this. The man then said he was responsible for that construction and extends his hand to her. She then tells him not to touch her and asks who owned that building. He then says that that construction was of two people, a father and a son. He then says that he was just in charge of that construction and that he would look for the documents so that she could sign. The woman then tells him to go a little faster as she was in a hurry. The man then changes the subject and asks if anyone had ever told her that she was very beautiful. She then tells the man to have more respect for her and says that his compliments meant nothing to her. She then says that he was just a dirty, unkempt factory worker. The man then says he had realized that she didn't like compliments and gets a little closer to the woman. She then tells him not to come near her and pushes him away. He said that she didn't need to treat him that way as he was just trying to be polite to her. The woman said that she didn't care about his education and that she just wanted him not to come near her, as he was just a dirty workman. The woman then begins to walk around the building and leans on a wall to observe the city. At that moment, the man appears and calls for the woman. She then asked what he was doing there and if he liked being mistreated. The man then asks if she wanted to have lunch with him. The woman then starts to laugh at the man and says that she would never have lunch with someone like him, a dirty and unkempt mason. The man Tom apologizes to the woman and says that he was just trying to be polite to her and asking her to join him for lunch. She then told the man to know his location. The man then says how she didn't want to go to lunch and she was still. She then tells him to wait as he had changed his mind. She then asks if the man knew the construction owner's son. The man then says that he knew him very well. The woman then says that the man could introduce her to his son and thus she could become his wife. The man then asks if she just wanted to have lunch with him to meet the owner's son. The woman then says that the man was very smart and that if he introduced the owner's son, she would go out with him. The man then says they had a deal. She says she didn't eat the things his type of people ate. She said that she was a very refined person and that she only ate fancy dishes. The man then tells her to stay calm as he would surprise her. She then tells them to go soon as she was very hungry. Later, the man returns and says that he had brought him lunch. She said she was very hungry and the man says he was glad to hear that so she wouldn't complain about what he had brought her. He said he had a lot of work to do and couldn't look for anything else. The woman then said she wasn't going to eat that and the man says like he said he was too busy with construction and couldn't find a restaurant. He then says that the cookies were very nutritious and that he had no problem eating them. The woman then gets mad at a man and says she wouldn't eat that. The man tells her to stop complaining about it and says that there were people in the world who didn't have anything to eat. She then said that she wasn't the type of person to eat that. She then says that when she met the owner's son, she would tell him how the man was treating her. The man then said that she could not complain to the owner's son because she was wrong. The woman then starts yelling at a man and tells him not to talk to her anymore. She then starts screaming at him to get the hell out of there. The person in charge then asks how long the man would put up with the woman's insults. The man said that he was very persistent and that he would hold out until the end. The handler then said that he was not as persistent as the man and would have already said who he was, but the man says that in the right time, she would know the whole truth. He then said that if that was the man's will, he could only support it. The man then thanks the handler for understanding and tells him not to say anything to her as he had a plan. The person in charge then says that woman just wanted someone to support her, and that's why she was a gold digger. The man then says that he would keep trying a little longer and that from inside that shell, a very good person could emerge. The man in charge then said that if that was the man's will, he can only support him and wish him luck. The man then thanks him and goes to the woman. The man then sneaks up behind the woman and puts his hand over her eyes. She then gets scared and asks what he was doing. The woman says they were beautiful flowers and the man asks if she wouldn't accept those flowers. She then says that she wouldn't want those flowers and throws them on the ground. The man then tells the woman to stop that and that he had brought those flowers with great affection for her. She then said that if the man was going to buy her something, let him buy her something expensive. He then said he would get it for her. Later, he comes back with chocolate and the woman tells him that chocolate was very cheap. The man then says that he had gone to a simple store and that was the most expensive chocolate there. She then says that since it was the most expensive one, she could try it. She then opens the chocolate and cone, but ends up spitting it out. She then asks, how did the man have the courage to do that to her? The man then says that he had bought her that chocolate with a lot of love and says that she was very complicated. She says it wasn't hard to please her and tells the man to introduce her to the owner of that building soon. The man then gives up and says he would introduce the construction owner to her. The man then goes to the handler and says he had given up on that woman. He then said that he had warned the man. The man then said that the woman would be interested in him if she knew the truth and that he would introduce the owner of the building to her. He then asks if finally the man would reveal the truth to the woman. The man says yes, he wanted to reveal the truth to her, but that it would be his way. The handler then said that whatever the man needed, he would help him. The man then proceeds to explain his plan to the foreman. Later, the woman is impatient and asks where the owner of the building was that they were taking so long to introduce her to. He then told her to take it easy and that he was coming. At that moment, the man gets out of his car. The foreman then says that his boss had several buildings in that city. The man then walks over to them and the woman says he could only be playing with her. The foreman says he wasn't messing with her and that here he really owned the building. The man then introduces himself to the woman and extends his hand to the woman. She then takes the man's hand and he says he was surprised that he could touch her now. The woman then says that he had misunderstood and asks if his invitation for them to have lunch together was still valid. The man said that invitation would never be valid again, because after everything she did to him, he no longer wanted to relate to an interesting person. The woman then says that the man had got things wrong and asks him to reconsider. The man then tells her that she could redeem herself by learning the lesson he wanted to pass on to her. He says that if he was all dirty, as the woman had told her, it was because he didn't like just ordering around in his fancy office. He said that, like his father, he was a person who liked to be at the forefront of construction, working. He said that he and his father owned numerous buildings as they worked hard. The woman then asks him to reconsider, but the man says he has nothing more to say to her. He then said he was going to leave and that he hoped the woman had learned her lesson. The woman then asks the handler what she was going to do now since she had lost the man. He says that that was the result of her actions and that she should go after another. The woman then becomes very sad about what she had done.